appreciate the effort of all the National Scout organizations across the region. So let's also give a round of applause. This report will be made available through the conference website, africa.scoutconference.org, for you to download and engage with.
All right, and on the screen right now, we have we have outlined the partners that helped to make this triennial a success. Let's have a look at them. I know you can recognize some of the logos of our partners. I know most of you have been interacting with them. So thank you so much for making this triennium a success.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, colleagues. Thank you, conference. Thank you, National Scout Association, and thank you, partners who have helped us to achieve these milestones. At this point, let me invite the Regional Treasurer to come and present the financial report. Welcome, Frederick, who is also my namesake.
So good morning, delegates and our guests. I think what has been outlined would not have been possible without the finances to enable the teams achieve the different been outlined, and therefore join me as I take you through the numbers, those particular achievements to become a reality as it has been reported. So to begin us off is an highlight, and generally the financial period runs for a period of 12 months. We have strong internal control, processes and policies, and we are definitely subject to audit, internal and external, and our financial reports are shared with Africa Scout Committee, every quite open, and books of accounts, as reported earlier, are externally audited, and we've returned unqualified reports. When we say unqualified, it means a clean report, to mean the management of these finances is done in an open and transparent manner. So we thank the team that is behind that work, supported by the committee, our partners, and the staff. And then, where do we get our funds from? As it has been said before by the speakers before, we generally get these funds from majorly the World Organization of the Scout Movement, the World Scout Foundation, the Africa Scout Foundation, and we have our Scout Shop and other partners funding that. So on average, the income for the triennial was the amount reflected of US dollars, 888,000. And then on average, the contributions from The other partners, the amount that on average of 673,000 for a period. For the project funding, the amount is as reflected of 192,000. Then we had an amount of unrestricted donations, and from the Scout Shop, the amount of 23,000. And that enabling what we have seen from the teams that have reported before. So when we look at the expenditure that was incurred during the triennial, on average, we are talking about an expenditure level of 799,000 US dollars, and the operational expenditure, basically to enable those expenses to run the office and to ensure all that needs to be done, is the amount of 675,000. And then the specific projects, Messengers of Peace and the others, averaging to 124,000 US dollars for the period. Then this is to put that into perspective, looking at slide number 5. It gives us the breakdown of what we've seen for each year during the triennial. The budget figures as reflected, with the first year being an amount of 700,000 US dollars, and the year 2019-2020, the amount of 617 US dollars, and then the amount, rather the year 2020-2021, an amount of 698 US dollars, and the last, or the extended part of the triennial, the amount of 728,000 US dollars in terms of the budget. And then the surplus or the deficit during the period, particularly focusing on the 3 years. So the first year, an amount of 9,000 US dollars. And then the second year, the amount of 13,000, that was on the negative, and this majorly informed by the COVID pandemic that befall us, and majorly this is attributed to reduction of the amount that was budgeted, media, therefore returning those results. And finally, the subsequent year, a surplus of 61 US dollars as reflected. And then still putting that into perspective in terms of the income for the different years as reflected, the 2018-2019, the operational budget or the operational income, the amount was the 703,000. For the year 2019-2020, the amount was 617,000. And the last year, 698,000. And then for the projects, we had a total of 226,000 for the year 2019-2022, 2018-2019, and 2019-2022, we had an amount of 246,000, and the last year, an amount of 103,000 US dollars. Then other incomes, as pointed out, these being contribution from unrestricted donations, and also our Scout Shop. The first year, $31,000. The second year, $13,000, and the last year, $24,000. Then we look at the expenditure for both the operational expenditure and project expenditure. The amounts as reflected, 720, 644, and 661 for the operational expenditure. And for the projects, 180,000, 112,000, and finally 79,000 for the last year. And finally, as we finish, we, as pointed out, and without repeating, the books are kept in that manner, and that is why the clean reports are given by an external auditor at the end of the day. And definitely issues affecting the results, as pointed out, much reputation, the issue of COVID-19. And finally, the report is available. The audited reports are available at that shared link there. So maybe the last thing or the final comments from myself is to take this opportunity to thank each and everyone who really contributed in one way or another to see the success that has been reported, to contribute in a way to ensure that those activities are enabled. And these are our partners, majorly contributions given through the African Scout Foundation, the World Office, led by the Secretary General. Thank you for your wonderful support so far. The National Scout Association for your contributions, and definitely the staff for their dedication, support, and sacrifice to ensure all this is achieved, and definitely led by our regional director. Thank you for your good work. And finally, not forgetting the team that steers and ensures that all this is done in an open and transparent manner, the African Scout Committee. So an applause to all of these for their good work. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Regional Treasurer, for the report. And as he said, the report is also online. We can get them. At this point, I think you have been waiting for that. Definitely could be some questions, so I welcome any question that you might have on both reports from the office and from the Regional Treasurer. Thank you. You can just raise your card or you raise the hand, we can pick from that. Yes, Burkina Faso. Mike, please. Mike is coming.
Merci pour la parole donnée au Burkina Faso. Ma question a trait à la période du rapport 2018-2021. Et nous avons constaté auparavant que le rapport moral prend en compte 2018-2022. Est-ce qu'on peut donner une explication sur la durée? Merci. Et qu'en 2022, il n'y a pas eu d'activité sur les finances. Merci beaucoup.
I'm just making sure that you get the interpretation, which has come through. Yes, Burkina Faso asking the report from the office covered 2018, 2022, but the financial report only covered 2018, 2021. The reason being that our financial year ends in September. We are still in August, so this year is still on, so we'll get the report by the end of the year. Thank you. Other question? Chair, it looks like the conference is satisfied with the report. There are no questions. So I take this opportunity to thank the regional volunteers, regional committee, the staff, everyone who has helped to really deliver this. During the workshop, we still have opportunity to interact again in small group sessions. Feel free to take part, to clarify, and also to share any feedback that you might have. So as a team, we thank you, and let us continue to develop and grow scouting in the region. Later on, we'll also present to you our draft regional plan, which is built up in the work that we began in this triennium. And now I take the floor back to you, Chair. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Frederick, and the entire team for the amazing reports that give us an account of the outstanding achievement in the region, despite a very difficult triennium. Ladies and gentlemen, the region has been privileged to work together with a number of partners to create a better world where millions of young people are able to create positive change in their communities. May I now invite Mr. Nelson Opani to lead us in the Partners Engagement session.
Thank you very much, Chair. May I invite on stage our partners from UNICEF, Africa for Sdgs, and the Institute for Economics and Peace. Please give them a round of applause. Is not working, but we are good. So, conference, I am happy to introduce to you three of our partners that we've, actually two of them, we are already working together, but one of them, we are in the process of building a relationship. So, with us today, we have from my left, Mr. Sergei Prokhorov, from UNICEF, Eastern and Southern Africa Regional Office, based here in Nairobi. A round of applause for Sergei. At the center, we have Mr. Joe Bonga from the Africa for Sdgs. A round of applause. And then we have Mr. Milton Nyamazao from the Institute for Economics and Peace. So over the next few minutes, we're going to have a discussion just to understand some of the work we are doing together with our partners, but also looking forward as a movement, how can we leverage these relationships to support scouting at the local level? I will start with a question to Sergei. Young people have always share their experiences in youth engagement and the barriers preventing them from their peers, preventing them and their peers from creating change they want to see. Many have felt left out, that they are not taken seriously, while others have expressed the lack of understanding of policies that affect them and the processes by which those policies come to be. How can these challenges be addressed to enable young people's voice to lead in influencing solutions, both at a community level, but also at a personal level, and for a movement like us that is global?
Thank you so much, Nelson. Let me start first by saying a big thank you for inviting UNICEF to this great event. I see there were a lot of efforts to organize it and to bring so many young advocates, leaders, and also inspiring change makers together. So it's a big honor to participate. And coming back to the question, it sounds like an easy one, to ensure that young people participate in the process of the governance and the public policy, that they are taken seriously. So the answer is just take the young people seriously and design the public policies with them. It sounds easier, much easier said than done. So when you come to implement this in practice, it's actually quite a big challenge. And it's a challenge for many organizations, governments, many countries. It's a widespread challenge. Even we in UNICEF activities, we also have this challenge, working together with the government. So the main thing that we usually try to do ourselves, and we kind of recommend, and what we believe is necessary, is to create an enabling environment when young people are taken seriously and they have an opportunity to form their opinion and express their opinion. And at the same time, there is an audience which takes this opinion seriously as everyone's opinions, as adults' opinions. So this is the most important thing that should exist, or kind of pre-exist, in order to ensure that young people has an opportunity to participate in the public policy process. Another important thing is to support youth-led initiatives, support the peer-to-peer support that young people provide to their peers in the advocacy process. It's a very sustainable approach. If young people own the activities, they feel empowered, then it will be implemented further, even if there is no support or limited support from the government or from international organizations like UNICEF or national non-government organizations. It is also important to ensure that at the level of the government, the authorities, and also NGOs, there is an understanding of the open door policy for the young people. Those actors are ready to hear, ready to listen, and provide the opportunities to young people to raise their voice when necessary. It's necessary to ensure that there is a change in the mind shift of the staff working for the government, for the authorities, and that the colleagues, the staff is able to listen to young people. That there is a community feedback and complaint mechanism which works specifically for young people, and it should be also age appropriate. For example, children or young people aged 11, 15, they have different interests, different needs comparatively to children aged 15 and above. So it's important to keep this in mind. Another thing which is important is to collaborate between the level of authorities and governments and NGOs, and ensure that there is a cooperation at the level of the youth councils, youth parliament, and those organizations are working actively, proactively with the government and authorities. It's very important. And finally, the government and similar structures should be held accountable for letting the youth participate, for listening to the youth. And at the same time, participation is a human right. You should and can advocate for this. You should demand the government to show the plans of the youth work of the youth participation in order to influence this and work together further. I just also would like to mention that in UNICEF, working together with young people from all over the world, but also from Africa, we created a document called the Youth Advocacy Guide. It's a very useful one which helps young people to develop advocacy activities proactively and effectively. And as a summary, I just would like to say that I guess, as everyone in this room, I hope that in the future we will see even the reinforced efforts from all the actors working with youth to work effectively with youth further. And I hope that the governments, the NGOs, and generally adults in the future will release some space and power to young people to let them drive the agenda and create the agenda together. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sagi. Let me join you guys here. Thank you very much. And you mentioned a lot collaborations between young people and organizations and government. So I think that's a key area. And when we talk about influencing change, I think those are the people we need to come close to and work more closely together with. So thank you very much for that. I'll move to Mr. Joe from Africa for SDGs. And we're talking about SDGs, and for us as a movement, Scouts for SDGs is an important area of our work. And recently we signed a memorandum of understanding to enhance this work across the region. What would you say as a movement and as young people we really need to do to ensure that the Sustainable Development Goals are really realized, not just for the world, but for us as a region and really at the felt at the community level? And in all that, how do we ensure that no one is left behind?
All right, thank you so much, Nelson. And thank you so much, everybody, for inviting me. And what I just wanted to say is that I think Africa stands a very good chance if you look at it in terms of demographics. Our population currently is at around 1.3 billion. And out of that, 41% are below 15 years old. In Kenya specifically, we have 43% of our total population under 15 years old. So we are talking about a continental population that is largely very young, and I think the figures I saw you showing us of the growth, they are going to largely increase because we have a lot of young people. And in as much as that's an opportunity, that can also be a potential risk if it's not well managed. And I think that's where it's very important for us to think, how do we bring the youngest continent in the world to be part of a global agenda like the Sustainable Development Goals? For a very long time, Africa has been left behind when we talk about development goals. I mean, Asia has always taken lead in mobilizing and organizing their young people. And I think this is time for us in Africa, and I believe the Scouts Association, they stand the best chance to mobilize these demographics. And the two things that stand out is, one is how do we reconnect ourselves as Scouts, as a movement, and two, how do we manage the stakeholders and the partners so that they can see that we are already taking this step to make sure that we participate. And so one, I would say, how do we tell the story? When I joined the Scouts movement in primary school, what really made me join the Scouts was the story that I was told. I mean, apart from the gorgeous uniform, everybody wants to look nice. Today, I really wanted to put it on, but I was told, no, come, you're a partner. So I wanted to be both a partner and a Scout. But one of the things is people want, when they see you looking the way you're looking, they want to know the story behind it. Because a lady cannot be beautiful, dress up for it, and not go anywhere. Everybody will ask, are you going out for dinner? Are you going Are you going out with your boyfriend? Are you going out for this and that? I don't know your countries, but in Kenya, when a lady is super dressed, we know she's going out. So everybody wants to know the story behind the person who they're going out with. So one of the things I like challenging my scouts, my local group that I attend their meetings, is what stories do we create? When UNICEF comes in or my friends comes in, what stories do they hear and how do they see us connect to those stories? Our Scouts honor is very, very affluent. Everybody knows it. But how do we live it among us? And how do we live it within the context of sustainability? So that's what I would say. And the three areas that I would love to say is the story of self. How am I able to tell the impact story in my own personal way, contextualize my engagement within my local community to reflect the agency that other young leaders need to take action to lead. So when I talk about story of self, one thing that I like about Scouts movement is anywhere I go, if I meet a Scout, we almost feel like we've met brothers. In fact, you don't feel like, if you go, any country you go, whether it's the Scouts in the US or wherever, or somewhere in Somalia or wherever, if they're there, if you say you're a Scout or you dress up like that, nobody asks you even where you're from. We feel like we are just from a continent called Scouts, right? So that is, the identity is for sure. So the second thing is, how do we create a story behind our engagement? How do I create a story that when somebody sees me with that uniform, he says, I want to be part of it? And that's why I say, can we create the story of sustainability? And then secondly is, how do we create the story of now? The story of now is where you don't let a movement become a monument. It is very easy to find ourselves as a Scouts movement to have only our gorgeous uniforms as the only thing that we are known for, if we do not engage practically to create the agency for people to join the movements. So we must, and that is the story of now. What am I doing now in Cote d'Ivoire? What am I doing now in Burundi? What are we doing now in Angola? What are our Scouts doing in Kenya in this decade of action? How are we involved? Because how we are involved now will create the impression for agency for people to say, I want to work with you. And this is very common with us as partners, is that when you work with Scouts, you want to go where they're doing something now, not where they will or where they used to, where they're doing something now. And finally, it's the story of us. How do we create a relationship that creates an impact that goes beyond myself, goes beyond my community, my country, my Scouts group, and into the continent? So what I would just say is that to my brothers and sisters, I just want to say we are living in the best times in Africa, and we are Scouts in the best moments in Africa, where the demographics are really, really on our side, and where the issues that Africa is addressing with agency are really things we need and we can do. So I think that is something that I would wish us to do as partners. Let's go out there, create our self-story, create our agency, and create our impact. And considering that in a recent survey that was done, 91% of Africans believe they can create change through startups. And you can see Microsoft, Facebook, all these people are creating their headquarters here in Kenya and Africa because they know that. So that's why we need also to say, if these guys notice this thing, how can we also notice that thing and localize them? And finally, the final of the finally, there was a recent survey that was done, and this is very interesting, in Africa. They were asking young people, if you had a chance to leave Africa and go to the US, like today, the ambassador just comes and say, hey, here's a passport, air ticket, would you leave Africa now? And Ghana and Nigeria scored 74%. Now, I don't mean in a bad way. Nigerians, Ghanaians, I love you guys, man. But they scored 74%. And I was like, what's going on, man? And Kenya, amazingly, scored 24%. Now, when Kenyans were asked why, when we asked young people, why don't you want to go? And everybody started talking about, I have just started a new business. I have just started a new entrepreneurship program. I have just joined a new community of scouts. I want to do something. So purpose is very important. When you give people a sense of purpose, people will do anything to make the world a better place.
Indeed. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Joe. And when you say, let's not let a movement become a monument, you remind me of Baden-Powell's word, it's a movement because it moves. Yes. If it stops moving, then it ceases to become scouting. Yes. Let's move on to Mr. Milton. Milton from the Institute for Economics and Peace. And allow me just to read this, because I know a lot of us have not interacted with the Institute for Economics and Peace, so just to provide a context. The Institute for Economics and Peace is an independent and non-partisan, non-profit think tank that is dedicated to shifting world focus to peace as a positive, achievable, and tangible measure for human well-being and progress. IEP aims to create a paradigm shift in the way the world thinks about peace by developing global and national indices, calculating the economic cost of violence, analyzing country-level risks and fragility, and understanding the understanding of positive peace. Over the last few months, we've been having discussions with the Institute for Economics and Peace, how as a movement in the region, we can strengthen research, the use of research-based approaches to expanding our messengers of peace and dialogue for peace initiatives. And with IEP, we are looking at how we can measure more the impact of our peace and dialogue educational programs, but also provide training opportunities for young people to understand, peace and be able to effectively contribute towards dialogue in their communities. So, Mr. Milton, what do you think this opportunity provides, the opportunity for our collaboration provides to the movement and generally our work around peace and dialogue with young people and communities?
Thank you very much, Nelson. Thank you as well to the leadership of the Scouts movement and delegates who are here. It's an honor for me to be among you, especially at the cusp of this partnership together with you. So to answer your question, I think it's three things that we hope this partnership will bring. The first is that we would like to help the Scouts movement offer more to its members. And then the second thing is to help Scouts members offer more to the world. And this is important. And I think the third thing and the most important thing is to help bring a bigger understanding of the fact that peace work belongs to everyone. Because usually when people talk about peace, you want to call in, UN peacekeepers, you want to call in, National Peace and Reconciliation Commission and bodies like this. But we really want to bring the realization that peace work is owned by the Scouts. And I think this is one of the big things that we want to do. I think you mentioned very succinctly the broad range of activities we want to do, the training, and the capacity building for young people and older people within the Scouts movement, the skills, so that they have the knowledge about what it takes to build peace, the tools that are there at their disposal already in order to build peace. I think you spoke as well about the research and documentation aspects of it, which again is critical. The Scouts have done so much work all over the world.